Hey Gooners, welcome back to Gunners Talk Daily, your go-to home for everything Arsenal. If you're passionate about the Gunners and want the latest team updates and behind-the-scenes stories, make sure to subscribe and be part of the red and white family. Now, let's jump straight into today's breaking news, shaking things up in North London. Arsenal's international break is finally over, and the focus turns back to the Premier League with Nottingham Forest coming to the Emirates this weekend. But before we get into the match itself, there's been plenty of noise around the club, from debates about Bukayo Saka's best position, to UEFA's rule changes, to Mikel Arteta's latest powerful speech. Let's break it all down. The big talking point of the week came on the Stick to Football podcast, where Gary Neville suggested that Arsenal could shift Saka to the left wing to make room for Noni Madueke on the right. With Saka currently sidelined by a hamstring injury, Madueke has stepped in and shone for England during the international break, scoring against Serbia and playing with real confidence. Neville said he could see Arsenal sticking with Madueke wide right, moving Saka to the left, and leaving Gabriel Martinelli, Leandro Trossard, and even new signing Eberechi Eze to battle for minutes. But Arsenal legend Ian Wright was having none of it. Wrighty shut the idea down immediately, insisting Saka's record on the right speaks for itself and shouldn't be disrupted. With everything Saka has done up to this point on the right, you'd move him to the left? Not for me, Wright replied. Neville admitted he's been surprised by Madueke's rapid rise since leaving Chelsea, calling him a different player since arriving at Arsenal, and praising his runs and 1-versus-1 ability. England boss Thomas Tuchel added to the praise, describing Madueke as fast, direct, and hungry, while highlighting his improved work rate in defensive transitions. While the debate rumbles on, Arsenal's attention now shifts to Europe, as UEFA announced a last-minute change to Champions League squad rules. From this season, clubs will be allowed to temporarily replace one long-term injured or ill outfield player during the group stage. That means teams like Arsenal, Chelsea, and Liverpool won't be left short if injuries pile up. For Arsenal, it could be relevant with Gabriel Jesus still sidelined and Kai Havertz recovering from surgery. UEFA also confirmed that Atletico Madrid's Wanda Metropolitano will host the 2027 Champions League final, while the women's final that year goes to Warsaw. Back at home, Mikel Arteta delivered one of his most thought-provoking speeches at the Elita Collective Conference. Using the simple image of a football, he explained how its value changes depending on where it is, hidden in a dusty garage, thrown to kids in Piccadilly Circus, or given to children in an African village with nothing else to play with. For Arteta, the ball represents joy, opportunity, and the power to transform lives, just as it transformed his own. He linked this to the culture he's built at Arsenal, where the one-club philosophy unites men's, women's, and academy teams and emphasizes family as much as football. It's another reminder of why Arteta has been able to reconnect Arsenal to its identity, even as the club continues to chase the biggest trophies. Now, all eyes are back on the pitch. Arsenal host Nottingham Forest on Saturday in the early kickoff. Ange Postecoglou takes charge of Forest for the first time in the Premier League after Nuno Espirito Santo's sacking, but he has never beaten Arteta in the competition. Arsenal, meanwhile, have won their last 6 meetings against Forest in all competitions with a 19-2 aggregate scoreline. Arteta's squad isn't fully fit. Bukayo Saka, William Saliba, and Kai Havertz remain out, but captain Martin Odegaard is back, and there's hope Ben White could return too. That leaves room for Christian Mosquera to partner Gabriel Magalhaes in defense, while Ricardo Calafiori could shift to left back. Jurriën Timber, who scored a brace against Leeds, may hold on to the right-back spot. In midfield, Martin Zubimendi could start as the anchor, supported by Declan Rice and Odegaard. Further forward, there's speculation that Eberechi Eze could make his first start in red and white, with Noni Madueke potentially dropping to the bench after a tough game against Liverpool. Gabriel Martinelli is expected to start on the left, while Victor Gyökeres leads the line again after bagging a brace in Arsenal's last home match. So, here's how Arsenal might line up on paper. Raya in goal, Timber, Mosquera, Gabriel, and Calafiori in defense, Zubimendi, Rice, and Odegaard in midfield, with Eze, Martinelli, and Gyökeres in attack. It's shaping up to be an exciting return for the Gunners. With debates off the pitch about Saka and Madueke, rule changes in Europe, and Arteta's inspiring words about the game, Arsenal fans have plenty to talk about. But when the whistle blows on Saturday, only one thing will matter: getting 3 points and keeping momentum in the Premier League. What do you think, Gooners? Should Eze start this weekend? Would you ever move Saka to the left? And how excited are you for Arsenal's return to action? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, and subscribe for all your Arsenal updates here on Gunners Talk Daily. Meanwhile, in previous news, the mood around the training ground was positive, with energy high as players returned from duty with their countries. The big headlines are clear. Bukayo Saka and William Saliba are both back in full training, new signings are settling in well, and excitement is growing after Mikel Merino's standout performance for Spain on the international stage. For Arsenal fans, the sight of Bukayo Saka looking sharp was the first major boost. There had been worries about his fitness, but at Colney, he looked lively. He was sprinting freely, taking on teammates in one-on-one drills, and finishing strongly in front of goal. Mikel Arteta will be delighted to see his star winger back in rhythm. William Saliba was another welcome returnee. The French defender trained fully, his movement smooth, and his defending sharp. He looked ready to slot straight back into the heart of Arsenal's defense, which will be a huge lift heading into the weekend's Premier League action. Elsewhere, Jurrien Timber carried his confidence from before the break into this week's session. Having scored prior to the internationals, Timber looked dominant in defensive drills and aggressive in duels. Gabriel Martinelli also brought plenty of energy, buzzing down the left with his trademark bursts and sharp one-on-one play. Noni Madueke continued to impress as well. The winger stayed late after the main session, putting in extra work on his shooting and his link-up play with Victor Gyökeres. Speaking of Gyökeres, the striker looked clinical and full of confidence. His finishing in small-sided games was outstanding, with multiple goals showing just how dangerous he could be when the Premier League resumes. In midfield, Martin Zubimendi looked calm and composed, dictating the tempo in passing drills. Meanwhile, young Max Daumann was heavily involved once again. His teammates praised his work rate, a sign that his rise into the senior group is no accident, and that Arteta is keeping him close for a reason. All eyes were also on new signing Ebereki Eze. The former Crystal Palace man looked silky in possession, gliding past defenders and working closely with Arteta on his positioning. Supporters are already eager to see him link up with Arsenal's attackers in a competitive match. The goalkeepers were also put through an intense session. David Raya looked sharp with his reflex saves, while Kepa Arrizabalaga was commanding and vocal, constantly organizing the backline in training drills. While things buzzed at London Colney, Arsenal fans were also glued to the action in Spain. Mikel Merino produced a headline performance for his country, scoring a stunning hat-trick. His commanding display in midfield caught the attention of supporters online, with many debating whether he could be the perfect future addition to Arteta's squad. Some fans even imagined him partnering Victor Gyökeres in a 4-4-2 system. The reaction was overwhelmingly positive, with his ability to win duels, carry the ball forward, and provide strength in midfield, making him a player to watch. So here's the update. Arsenal are back, refreshed, and looking sharp after the international break. Saka and Saliba are fit again. Timber is confident. Gyökeres is firing. Eze is dazzling. And youngsters like Daumann are pushing for chances. With the Premier League returning, this squad looks hungry and ready to compete on all fronts. But what do you think, Gooners? Should Eze start this weekend? And would Mikel Merino be the right fit for Arsenal in the future? Drop your thoughts in the comments, smash that like button, and make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single Arsenal update. Meanwhile, in previous news, Arteta's side prepare to welcome Nottingham Forest to the Emirates Stadium. The clash will take place on Saturday, September 13th, with a 12:30 p.m. kickoff in North London. For the Gunners, it is the return to Premier League duty after the international break, and while much of the squad has been away representing their countries, the manager will be hoping everyone comes back fit and ready. Injuries have been a major concern for Arsenal in the early part of the season, but there is also some hope with a few key players nearing their return. Let's go through the latest news surrounding the squad ahead of this weekend's big game. One of the biggest worries for Arteta has been William Saliba. The French defender lasted just 5 minutes against Liverpool on August 31st before he was forced off. He looked uncomfortable as he limped away, and it was later revealed that he had suffered a sprained left ankle. Saliba has since pulled out of international duty with France, and reports suggest he could be sidelined for 3 to 4 weeks. Arteta explained that Saliba tried to play through the pain, but it quickly became clear he couldn't cope. The manager admitted he is worried, but he was pleased with how Christian Mosquera stepped in on his Premier League debut. As things stand, Saliba is expected back sometime in October. Bukayo Saka has also been a major concern. He came off during the match against Leeds United on August 23rd, clutching his left hamstring. The Hale End star, who missed 4 months last season with surgery on his other hamstring, looked in real discomfort. While surgery has been ruled out this time, Arteta confirmed that Saka will still be sidelined for a few weeks. The hope is that he could return in time to face Manchester City on September 21st, but everything depends on how he responds to treatment in the coming days. Kai Havertz is another name on the injury list. The German international missed the Leeds game after it was revealed he had picked up a knee injury. Arsenal later confirmed that Havertz underwent minor surgery on August 28th. Arteta admitted it was a very unfortunate setback, especially as Havertz has barely had injury issues in his career before. The timeline for his return remains unclear, but the manager said the most important thing is making sure he comes back fully fit when the time is right. Christian Norgard has yet to make his Arsenal debut after joining from Brentford. The midfielder picked up a minor injury that has kept him out of the opening 3 Premier League games. He was absent again against Liverpool, but there is optimism that he could recover in time to feature against Nottingham Forest this weekend. Arteta said the staff will make a late decision on his involvement. Ben White is another player who could return against Forest. The defender was substituted during the opening day win over Manchester United, but has since missed the games against Leeds and Liverpool. Fortunately, his setback does not appear too serious, and Arsenal are hopeful he can be back in the squad this weekend. That would be a big boost for Arteta, especially with huge fixtures against Newcastle and Manchester City just around the corner. As for Gabriel Jesus, the Brazilian forward continues his long recovery from the anterior cruciate ligament injury he suffered in last season's FA Cup defeat to Manchester United. Jesus has been working hard in the gym and recently shared updates of himself running and doing ball work back on the grass. In a personal message to fans, he described how the last 7 months had been filled with pain and anxiety, but said he now feels light again, like a child playing football. His return date is still penciled in for December, but his progress has given supporters encouragement that he is on the right track. Overall, Arsenal go into this game against Nottingham Forest with a mixed injury picture. While Saliba, Saka, Havertz, and Jesus remain sidelined, there is hope that both Norgard and Ben White could provide Arteta with some much-needed reinforcement this weekend. With tough games ahead in the coming weeks, getting players back fit will be crucial as Arsenal aim to keep their momentum in the Premier League. In other news, Victor Gyökeres could end up missing some key Arsenal matches next year, and not because of injury or suspension, but because the striker is set to appear in court. Yes, you heard that right. Arsenal's £63.5 million summer signing from Sporting, who has already scored 2 goals in his first 3 games for the Gunners, has been called as a witness in a major case taking place in Sweden in 2026. The story surrounds his agent, Hassan Setankaya, who is taking 2 Swedish publications, Fotboll STHLM and Expressen, to court for defamation. These outlets had claimed Setankaya and his agency, HCM Sports Management, had links to criminal gangs. Setankaya strongly denies those allegations and has taken legal action through the Stockholm District Court. Gyökeres has agreed to testify if called upon, with Setankaya's lawyer, Joachim Lundqvist, confirming to SVT Sport he has been called as a witness to be heard in the case regarding the circumstances described in the evidence. To add even more drama to the situation, Swedish police only last month launched an investigation into a shooting involving a relative of one of Gyökeres' representatives. A court date has not yet been fixed, which means it is unclear when Gyökeres will be required to attend, but if it lands during the Champions League knockout phase or the FA Cup in 2026. Arsenal's number 9 could miss crucial fixtures. Meanwhile, another big story is developing around Leandro Trossard. Just 3 days after the transfer window slammed shut in the UK, Arsenal have received a late bid for the Belgian winger. According to Turkish outlet Sözcüspor, Besiktas have launched a £19.1 million offer. Now, Arsenal can no longer bring in new signings themselves, but they are still able to sell to countries where the window is open, and in Turkey, it doesn't shut until September 12th. That gives Besiktas time to strike a deal. The Istanbul Giants, managed by Sergen Yalçın, are searching for a new left winger after failing to land Manchester United's Jadon Sancho, who opted for Aston Villa on loan instead. Trossard, who signed a new contract with Arsenal this past summer, with an increased salary but the same expiry date of 2027, could be their solution. It remains to be seen whether Arsenal will accept, especially since Mikel Arteta values Trossard's versatility. But the fact that Brentford, Aston Villa, and other overseas clubs showed interest during the summer shows how highly regarded the Belgian still is. And if that wasn't enough for Arsenal fans to digest, another major concern has just emerged: William Saliba's injury. Reports in France have revealed that Saliba could miss up to a month with the ankle problem that forced him off in Arsenal's 1-0 defeat to Liverpool before the international break. He actually twisted the ankle during the warm-up at Anfield, but insisted on trying to play through the pain, only to last 5 minutes before being substituted. He was included in the France squad initially, but quickly withdrew after the national team doctor confirmed he had suffered a sprained left ankle. According to L'Équipe, the belief inside the France camp is that Saliba will not return until after the October international break, which means as much as 4 weeks on the sidelines for Arsenal. That absence could hardly come at a worse time. Arsenal are bracing for a brutal run of fixtures which includes Nottingham Forest at home, Manchester City a week later, trips to Newcastle United and West Ham, plus the beginning of their Champions League campaign against Athletic Club and Olympiacos. There's also a Carabao Cup tie with Port Vale, although Saliba was unlikely to feature in that anyway. In his absence, Christian Mosquera filled in at Anfield, but with Piero Hincapié now through the door from Bayer Leverkusen and Ricardo Calafiori also capable of playing centrally, Arteta does have cover options. The young Miles Lewis-Skelly could also slot in on the left if Calafiori is moved inside. All of this comes while Arsenal are already managing other injury concerns. Bukayo Saka is recovering from a hamstring strain. Kai Havertz has undergone minor surgery. Gabriel Jesus remains out long-term. Christian Norgard missed the Liverpool game with a knock. And Ben White continues to battle ongoing fitness issues. It makes the timing of the international break something of a blessing. Arsenal may not be firing on all cylinders yet, and criticism of their tempo, attacking flow, and over-reliance on set pieces has been loud. But the break gives Arteta and his players valuable time to reset, recover, and prepare. When they return, the pressure will be right back on. With Saliba sidelined, Gyökeres is facing possible court commitments in the future and uncertainty over Trossard's future. Arsenal's season already feels like it has more questions than answers. In other news, Arsenal have finally completed the signing of Bayer Leverkusen defender Piero Hincapié. The Ecuadorian center-back joins on loan with an obligation to buy, and his arrival adds much-needed depth to the back line. His move wasn't confirmed when the 7 p.m. deadline passed, but all paperwork was finished shortly after, and Arsenal announced him as their newest player. Manager Mikel Arteta welcomed Hincapié with high praise, saying he brings physical presence, tactical flexibility, and the right balance of youth and maturity. Arteta stressed that the defender will strengthen the squad and make them more competitive moving into the season. For Hincapié himself, the decision was simple. He revealed it only took one conversation to convince him to join Arsenal, despite interest from rivals Tottenham. He said he's over the moon, eager to gel with his new teammates, and determined to win trophies for the club.